Randeep Hooda and Kriti Sejan had even passed out from the same school.
Think of your career as a T graph. So T, matlab, upar, if you think of this upper portion is like you become a generalist in a lot of fields, and the bottom is that you become a specialist in one field. He wrote me a card and said, all the best for the future, but never forget where you come from. And I knew the money will come then. I knew that if I give my heart and soul into something that I really believe in, the money will start flowing. And now I don't want to be 45 one day and think, yeah, shit, I should have done it. I feel that a CA can eventually do things that an MBA does, but there were things that in my MBA that I learned that you don't learn on a day-to-day basis, especially with the C.
So hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Unfiltered CA Tales. And today our guest, she is a chartered accountant. She has done MBA from one of the reputed top business schools in the world. She is currently running her own startup for over 2 years. So please welcome Mehar ma'am. Thank you very much ma'am for joining us.
Thank you Rupesh for having me. I'm very excited to chat with you today and talk about all things CA.
Likewise ma'am. So, before we begin, we would like to have a small brief about you and especially about your startup MSB Vision.
Sure. Rupesh, I am from New Delhi, India. I had a very nice childhood upbringing, and my parents always instilled in me and my sister to be go-getters and always be hustling. So we always worked very hard in school and college, and I was always a straight A student. I got a scholar badge. That's a thing in Delhi public school. So I got a scholar badge every year, and then I got a gold medal at the end of my high school. And so it was always ingrained in me to be working hard. And after that, I decided to join Delhi University, but my dad always kept telling me, CA kar le, CA kar le. So, when he had that push, he wanted me to be a professional and join the corporate world and always have like some kind of job security. Coming from a family of high achievers, all my, brothers and sisters in my family are very from top universities, always doing really well. So I was like, okay, I have to push myself and I have to get this qualification for myself. It was the first time anybody I knew in my inner circle who hadn't, there was nobody doing CA that I knew of. So I was like, okay, I'll take this as a challenge. So I started doing it alongside, I gave the CPT, which was the entrance exam, the first level with college, and I got a distinction and I did really well. So after that, I decided to switch my BCom degree from regular college to correspondence and join School of Open Learning so that I could pursue CA full time. And that time you couldn't do both. I think you still can't do both together. So I couldn't. So I made that big decision at the age of 18, 19 to do correspondence. And then I started working at KPMG after clearing my inter-level exams, IPCC at KPMG, and that was always my dream to be working at one of the big corporates. So I worked at KPMG for about 5 years. During that, I cleared all my inter exams really well, and the first time that I faced failure was when I gave the CA final exams, and I decided to give Josh me, both the groups together, and that's the first time I ever tasted failure. It was the biggest rejection that I had ever encountered in my life, and I think back to that time as the darkest moment of my life because when you don't know how to absorb these feelings because you've never faced it before. So I really suffered a lot mentally, emotionally, physically. My health also started deteriorating because it's so strenuous. You're working hard and then you're studying on weekends, you're going for all these classes, and then when you don't make it, you have to sit and give all the exams again. So it took me about like 3 attempts to clear both my groups, and that period I would say, like I said, it was very, very strenuous and very hard for me. After that, alongside that, I started talking to my dad, and I started telling him, he wanted me to do an MBA as well after CA, but he was very inclined on me, aiming for one of the top IIMs in the country. And I somehow, started talking to a lot of people at that time, and I was more inspired having a global career and moving out of the country and pushing myself outside my comfort zone. So I somehow convinced my dad. It took a period of 1 to 2 years to convince him that, "Nahi, I want to go outside to study." And eventually I started to, practice taking the GMAT and started thinking about what could be my target universities. And Imperial was one of my top targets. And luckily I made through the cohort, and I joined Imperial after qualifying as a CA, and working for another year with EY almost. And then I came here to London to pursue my MBA. And that's when I decided to pivot my career a little bit from, the hardcore CA finance kind of role, and pivot a little bit into strategy, branding, marketing. And I started working with startups in London, and then eventually started working at a strategy consulting firm here in London. So I pivoted from finance to strategy. And alongside that, I started my side hustle, which is now MSB Vision. It was just, me creating videos on the internet to help people like you and other people listening to your podcast, because I used to get a lot of messages on LinkedIn. And I always had this feeling in me to help other people to make some kind of impact, share my failures and successes, because what we see on the internet is normally just the glorified versions of people's careers. But I wanted to talk about my failure. I want to talk about my challenges. So that's how, a lot of people resonated with my journey, and I got a lot of positivity, a lot of positive messages, and it just blew up, MSB Vision. And I think it took me about 2 years of working on MSB Vision as a side hustle with my full-time job to actually eventually quit my job and do what I'm really passionate about. When your passion becomes your obsession, that's what you should be focusing on. So yeah, this is where we are today. We are a community of 700,000 across different platforms. It's a community that I really value because it's a reflection of who I am. Each person that I think follows me is got some version of me in them, and I really resonate with them. And when I'm having a bad day, I get 100 messages that ma'am, it's okay, you'll make through it. And now I'm working on another product, another idea, which will hopefully take the whole career conversation to another level. So that's what I'm building on next.
Now on, we'll move on from one by one, like from your school journey, thereafter to CA, MBA, and then to your startup.
I think my introduction was a little too long, but yeah, that was all about me.
So, firstly, talking about your schooling, you had your schooling from DPS R, Puram, which is very famous for producing some people who are doing very great in Bollywood, like Randeep Hooda and Kriti Sedan had even passed out from the same school. Talking about various entrepreneurs like Vinita Singh is also passed out from the same school. So, when you get to hear regarding them that they were even from your school itself, so what does it feel now?
Honestly, I didn't know that Randeep Hooda was also from DPS Arkipuram. I knew about Kriti Sanon, and I think I guess it just shows that also, it's a big school, right? There are all types of people from all walks of life. Yes, at that time, it was one of the most prestigious schools when I was in school. So a lot of people aspire to be a part of this institution where so many bright minds came together. So it was definitely a place where you were competing with every classmate in the same room. So I feel because we had regular Monday tests, weekly Monday tests, we had exams every 3 months. We were competing for the scholar badge and the gold medal at the end of it. So I feel that hustle culture was somehow ingrained in all of us. And I guess people who are from different schools also, it doesn't really matter which school or what education you do, but I feel proud to be associated with DPS Arkipuram, and hopefully I will go and give back to the institution sometime in the future and help students who are currently studying there.
Great. Now, if we talk about your graduation that you pursued along with CA, like you were doing from a regular college initially, and thereafter you switched to SOA. So, after doing MBA, that too in UK, do you feel that I should have done graduation complete 3 years from my regular college itself, or do you think that doing the remaining graduation from open school was also not a very bad decision?
I always tell Rupesh, when someone who's pursuing CA reaches out to me, should I go to regular college? Should I not? I always say that, this is your chance. It's literally those 3 years of your life that will never come back, right? You're never going to be 18 to 21 again. And I feel that, it's ingrained in us by society, by our parental pressure, all of that jaldi you have to figure your life out and finish all your degrees in your early 20s, and then you'll be set. So that's why all of us go into this hustle of doing CA very early on. I feel I am somebody, Rupesh, that as a person I don't regret things. I don't look back on my past very often and regret doing something. So I always look at things in a positive light if I can. But I will say that I wanted to go and do a master's because I didn't get regular college experience. And I think I wanted and I craved that campus life that like you're saying, fests and being a part of a classroom and working with your classmates and talking to professors and participating in presentations and all. So I really miss that. That's why I pushed myself, and I explained to my dad that I need to do a master's and I need to polish myself a little bit more. Having said that, I don't think there's any right or wrong. I feel that because I was in Delhi University for that 1 year, I felt like whatever I could learn from and see what Delhi University was all about, I saw in that 1 year. I was at JMC, and I think if I wasn't ready to, make something big of myself, I would have probably stayed on. And I'm not saying that people who stay on don't make a better careers or whatever, but what I'm trying to say is that I felt like, that I could do more with my time. There were classes that used to get canceled, teachers used to go on strikes. I feel just I wasn't being intellectually stimulated enough. So that's why I needed to do a BCom and a CA degree simultaneously. So I feel that if you're somebody who is a hustler, who's somebody who wants, constantly, you want to make the most of those early years of your career where you want to make a mark for yourself, then I don't think there's anything wrong with you not doing regular college. I think it's completely fine.
So now, like talking about your articleship, you did your articleship from KPMG. So you started your corporate career from a very big brand name. Like Big Fours are actually, it is very great to start your CA journey from a Big Four. Like I even started my journey from PwC. So what was your experience while working with KPMG and even while working with EY during your articleship and even post qualification?
I'd love to hear your thoughts also, Rupesh, but it was my dream to be a part of one of the Big Fours, right? It was when I was studying for CA and I had left college, and I was like, okay, if I'm leaving college, then kuch bada karke dikhana. I'm not going to just go to any mediocre firm. I want to be a part of the big firms. That's how I will, in my mind, equated to be okay leaving college, right? So I put a post-it note on my study desk saying KPMG, and I was very motivated that this is going to be my dream firm. This is where I'm going to be a part and work there. Once I started working there, I would say the first few months were kind of tough because the first project that I was on was really good. I was in financial statutory audit department, and the first senior and the team that I worked with was really, really, really nice and so supportive. But the second project that I was on, Rupesh, it was really toxic in the sense that they expected me to know things. I'm just 19. I'm not supposed to know everything. It's my first job. So they just really disrespected me, mistreated me. There was this senior who threw papers on whatever I worked on just in the air. And I just came home crying and feeling really unfulfilled. And I was like, okay, why is this happening with me? I wanted to be a part of this big company, and fine, there's one off project. Okay, fine. Couple of months later, 1 year later, still things like these were happening where my mental health again really started to suffer. So my experience working with the Big Four was, I would say, shades of black and white. The days there were days that were really good because I felt pumped, and I was really excited to be working on these big projects and talking to these clients and building relationships, and also honing my communication skills, my presentation skills, the way of analytical thinking, decision making. These are so many things that you learn in these big corporations. But there were also days when I doubted myself, especially when I failed the exams. I really took it personally, and I did not. I wasn't able to shine the brightest, I feel, in that organization, in any of the Big Fours. So I feel that it all comes down to the managers who are managing you. And if you're in a team that is supportive and is okay with giving you some autonomy to make decisions, and actually you being able to work the way you want to work and also learn and get feedback, I feel then you thrive. So it's about finding the right kind of organization that works for you. But for me, after a while, it got a little monotonous and toxic. How was your experience? I'd love to learn from you.
So actually, what the thing was that I had worked in PwC for first 11 months of my corporate career. But then what happened? Someone reported to the PwC ethics team that I was having a YouTube channel. And since my channel was monetized, so there is a clause in the Big Four that you cannot work in addition to doing a job at a Big Four. Like you cannot have any other commercial activity side by side while doing a job at a Big Four. So I was given just an option. It was a bit tough. Like my partner was saying that you were being very childish. You do not know the importance of this and this. But my mind was clear that I have more interest in working on my YouTube channel than working for a Big Four, because what I believe that I can have an exposure of Big Four even after my CA as well. But talking about what I am doing while pursuing my CA, there are not many other students who are even like doing that much on YouTube and simultaneously doing CA. So I believe that encouraged me to take this decision that I should continue my YouTube channel, and will see if I can get opportunities in the future for working in the Big Four, because I believe in destiny. So if destiny wants me to come back to Big Fours, I would definitely go. But if not, then let's go ahead with my YouTube channel itself.
I'm sure there's something better out there, right? Otherwise. Wow, that takes courage, Rupesh. That takes courage. Well done.
Thank you. So, like next, regarding your MBA, so like what we generally hear from many people is that there is a comparison between CAs and MBAs. And talking about those who just complete their CA, either they choose to opt for courses like ACCA, CPA, or CFA. Like there are comparatively very few people who opt for MBAs after completing their CA for it being a regular course for 2 years. Like generally what people do is they can do ACCA, CPA, or CFA while doing their jobs as well. But during the 2 years while you were pursuing your MBA, you won't be actually like doing any job or practice as a chartered accountant. So how did you take that decision that even after qualifying one of the toughest courses in the world, you still have to take 2 years from your like very precious time of 20s to 30s? So how did you make that decision?
Luckily, Rupesh, the MBA that I did was 1 year, but yes, most MBAs across India and the world are 2 year MBAs. For me, it was not a very difficult decision because like as a CA student, you're sitting at your desk by yourself 15 hours studying and studying and studying. I think I just really craved that university experience and I wanted to pivot my field a little bit from hardcore finance. So what you're saying about different degrees is relevant for people who want to stick to the finance stream and as a sector. You want to stick to the finance industry. For me, it was very much there was something in me. Like I was more of a creative person. I was more of an entrepreneurial person. I was more who wanted to be part and working at startups and smaller companies. So I feel for me it was not a very difficult decision in terms of taking 1 year out of my life. You're saying that yes, you have just the 20s and 30s, but how many degrees will you collect? Each degree that you do has to add some value to your career and to your life. What is the point of collecting all these degrees? And I keep saying this, like, why are you doing another degree? Is it because your colleague is doing it, your classmate is doing it, or do you really think that will add value, like really hardcore value to your life? Like after doing CA, why are you doing ACCA? Is it that you want a career outside of India? That then it makes sense. Or why are you doing CFAs? Because you want to get into some form of investment banking. A lot of investment bankers are also not CFA holders. So you have to be very, very certain and know, yeah, what is the purpose of doing this degree and what will be the value addition, because it's going to cost you time, money, and effort, right? So you have to be very, very certain as to, yes, does this degree align with my long-term career goal? Whatever I want to do in the long term, is it going to help me move in that direction? And when I ask myself that question, that eventually I do want to be working at a startup or running my own startup, my own entrepreneurial venture, that's why the MBA was the right decision for me.
Okay. So now, like talking about you got relocated to UK for your MBA. There are many students as well who are like currently living in tier 2 or tier 3 cities, and for their articleship they get relocated to another city. Like you had been staying with your family since your childhood. So was it difficult for you for that 1 year period for which you stayed in London? Like now, to it has been many years since you have been staying, but was it difficult initially while you got relocated?
Yes, of course, of course. It's never easy, right? Like when you're moving cities, you're uprooting your whole life in a matter of months. And like you said, like us Indian kids, especially, we are very sheltered. We have a very sheltered environment. Everything is taken care of. We are very comfortable in most situations. Like you're going to the office, your tiffin will be packed for you. So all those are the ways that we are pampered. And suddenly not having that, of course, it hit me hard, but I was also, Rupesh, so excited to be adulting, like I was really excited to start a new chapter. And I was in a tiny studio near my university in London, and I was like, if I go back and see that now, I would be like, how did I live there for 1 year? It was so small, but I was just so happy, being on my own, living an independent life outside my comfort zone, and cleaning my house, and setting it up the way I wanted to. So I feel like, of course, it was challenging in many ways. There was nobody to take care of me when I got sick, for example. But I think the pros outweighed the cons. And for anybody who's moving cities and moving countries or whatever, I would say that, be really sure as to, go back to why you're doing it. And there's always a strong why as to, it takes guts and courage to make that move. And not everybody does it. So if you are doing that, be proud of how you're putting yourself in that challenging situation, and making the most of that opportunity that you're getting. So I would really say hats off to anybody who's moving cities or countries. But I will also say, somebody wrote me a card and said, all the best for the future, but never forget where you come from. So always remember that home is home, and stay in touch with people who are back home, and find that balance of living your independent life, but also, staying connected with your loved ones.
Right. Next is a bit controversial question, but I guess you are the correct person to answer this. There is a very much, I should say, comparison between CAs and MBAs. Like CAs say that CAs are better than MBAs. However, MBA says that MBA is better than a CA. Now, since you have even done CA and you are even an MBA, so what according to you is better?
Rupesh, again, it goes back to what you want from your career, right? Like when I went for my MBA, I was already a CA. So when I was going for all the accounting classes, or, investment banking classes, we had a investments class also. I knew most of the stuff because of my CA qualification. I had done accounting, so it was like child's play for me. It was like, okay, I already know all this. Whereas there were also things in my MBA that I learned that I didn't learn in CA. For example, we had a class on negotiations. We had a separate class on how to price your products. We had a class on brand management, marketing, venture capital. So I feel that it was, again, I always say that CA is like, think of your career as a T graph. So T, matlab, upar, if you think of this upper portion, is like you become a generalist in a lot of fields, and the bottom is that you become a specialist in one field. So becoming a CA is like you're becoming a specialist in finance. But if you do an MBA, you're like touching different aspects of an organization. So that could be HR, marketing, a little bit about how to run your startup, how to price your product. So all of that you learn a little bit, operations and negotiation, all of that. So I would say that there's no right or wrong. It depends on what you want from your career. If you want to be a signing partner, or signing auditing opinions, and as an auditor, so of course you need a CA degree, and you can't be an MBA to be able to do that, right? But if you I feel that a CA can eventually do things that an MBA does. But there were things that in my MBA that I learned that you don't learn on a day-to-day basis, especially with the CA degree, because the CA degree is still very theoretical. Applying that in your articleship is fine, but the honing that happens in the MBA, because you groom as a person and as a business leader a little bit, your leadership skills, your presentation skills, you're doing all these case studies and coming up with real life solutions. So I feel the MBA degree is a little bit more practical when it comes to all aspects of the business.
So, like, next we'll move on to your startup. So, like, for a person who has been working in corporate for over, like, I should say 5 years or 10 years, it becomes like bit difficult for a person, because at that point of time he or she is earning well enough, and from that, if he or she is being asked to like start a venture wherein there is no surety that whether that venture would work or not. So, how did you make the decision?
I feel that it was a very transparent conversation that I had with my husband. And when I saw that my passion was becoming an obsession and I couldn't stop thinking about MSB Vision, and I used to tell myself, if I had all the time in the world, these are the things that I could do with the business. Then we had a conversation, and I started saving up. Like I saved up 6 months worth of my salary in an emergency fund for myself. Because like you said, if you're taking that leap of faith, you have to have some kind of a cushion to fall back on, things that don't work out. And I always told myself that, okay, I'll give myself a year or 2 years. If it doesn't work out, I can always go back to the corporate world. I can always find something, maybe at a lower grade, but I will be able to find some kind of job, so that is a reassurance. And of course, the CA degree gives you that, and an MBA also gives you that falling back on, because you're always qualified to find something. for me, I think, Rupesh, obviously different people have different motivators, but for me, money was never a motivator. And I'm not trying to say this coming from a point of privilege or whatever, but what I'm trying to say is that for me, it was to drive an idea and actually make an impact and help people. And I knew the money will come then. I knew that if I give my heart and soul into something that I really believe in, the money will start flowing, and it will come. The right opportunities will come, the right clients will come, the right projects will come my way. So I always believe that do good work, and the universe will reward you. So that's exactly what happened. The first year was challenging because of course I did not make as much money as I did in my corporate job, but after that things started taking off and I built my credibility. I hit 100K within 1 month of quitting my job. I hit 100K on Instagram, and after that, just the kind of projects, the workshops, the invites that I got, it was just very fulfilling in many ways, other than just the point of focusing on money. So I would say we have these insecurities that again are very societal and parental, that don't take the risk. But I feel your 20s are and you should be taking risks, because after that your responsibilities just keep building. And that's what I told and discussed with my husband, is that we don't have any kind of debt on our heads, we don't have children to take care of. If I don't do this now, I don't want to be 45 one day and think, yeah, shit, I should have done it. I should have taken that leap of faith, because I'd already built it as a side hustle. I had already tested the market, and I'd already tested my idea, and I was working two jobs in a way.